What's up everybody, Jared here with CarBuzz.com, and today I have been flown out to Colorado to drive the all-new 2020 Kia Telluride. This is Kia's all-new full-size SUV. It sits above the Sorento in their lineup. This competes against cars like the new Subaru Ascent, the long-standing Toyota Highlander, the Mazda CX-9, all of those big three-row SUVs, and it does it quite well, as we're about to find out. I'm going to go ahead and unlock it. You can see these orange LEDs, those are the DRLs. Looks really darn cool when it's driving along and you just see that orange there. I really like it. Let's talk a little bit about the styling before we get going. This thing looks great. I don't think there are any ifs, ands, or buts about that. This is a handsome looking SUV. Kia went on and on about how they wanted to push it out wide to make it look like a body on frame SUV. Of course it's not. It's actually a unibody. It's front wheel drive. This one has all wheel drive, but it does look rugged. Now Kia did a little marketing video where they took it around to the city of Telluride, which is actually where this car was named after. We had a chance to drive down there on this trip. And they asked the residents of Telluride what they thought of it, and a lot of people said it looks like a Range Rover. I don't disagree, because when you walk up to a Range Rover, what do you see? You see Range Rover written out real big. And that's what they've done here on the hood of the Telluride. It spells Telluride out, and it's got this big iteration of Kia's shark nose grille. Kia says this is the widest version of the shark nose that they have ever done. I think it looks great. I really love this deep moss green color. I think it looks cool. If you're gonna option one of these, I think this is the color to get. So looks really good on the outside. Let's go ahead and check it out on the road and see how it drives. And if you want more information on the Kia Telluride, more than what you get in this video, be sure to click in the description below to check out our full written review and to see more details about the Telluride. All right, so we've had a wonderful opportunity to drive this Kia Telluride to Telluride, Colorado, the city for which this car gets its namesake. And along the journey, we've had some stupendous mountain roads. You can probably see it in the background here. These are some amazing curves, some of the best roads I've ever driven. Not the kind of roads you'd want to bring your family three-row crossover on if you're trying to hustle it through, but if you're taking a family road trip to the Grand Canyon or somewhere in this area, you know, maybe you will be taking a big family car like this. So how does it do? So we're at altitude, which means that a normally aspirated engine like this is going to suffer a little bit in terms of power, especially on a big vehicle like this. So there's only one engine available on the Telluride. It's a 3.8 liter V6 engine, develops 291 horsepower and 262 foot-pounds of torque. It's the same one you'll find on the smaller Sorento, and that's mated to this very, very smooth 8-speed automatic. It's Kia's own transmission. They actually don't outsource them from anywhere. You can send that power out to front-wheel drive base, or for I think $2,000 extra, you can upgrade to all-wheel drive like the model that we have here. I've noticed that the all-wheel drive is pretty good if it inspires confidence around these turns. You can have this little screen up here in the center that tells you where the power is coming from at any given moment. It seems like for a lot of the time it's going out to the front wheels, mostly for fuel economy, but it does have a snow mode here that will force it to send a little bit more power to the rear wheels. So let me talk about these drive modes a little bit, because it has a couple here. So right now I'm in comfort mode, which is your default setting. Throwing it into sport mode, you feel the kickdown gets a lot lighter, so you only have to give it a little less throttle to get some acceleration out of it. Now I mentioned at altitude, you know, it's just not that fast, but compared to other cars in this segment, it's perfectly adequate. There's really nothing super sporty in this entire segment except for the upcoming Explorer ST, which is going to be twin turbocharged and 400 horsepower. I asked Kia whether or not they would shove their twin turbocharged motor into this car. It's kind of a wait and see. We'll see how well this sells. I think it's going to sell pretty well. I don't know if more power is necessary in a car like this because, you know, it's just for your family and it does the job adequately. If you want to put it in smart mode, that's something a lot of Kia cars do. Basically, what it will do is, depending on how you drive, it will switch between those eco and sport modes. So right now, I've got my foot off the throttle, so it's going to drive more economically. If I go ahead and mash the throttle, it'll go, oh, he wants to drive sporty, so let me give him all of the sporty settings. So it's kind of nice if you just leave it in smart mode. It'll kind of get whatever you need without having to fiddle with the drive controls. You do also have a snow mode and this little lock mode, which will lock it into its all-wheel drive setting if you are going to do any sort of off-roading. So we're driving the SX trim with the Prestige package, so we've got all the bells and whistles, everything that's possible to have in a Telluride, except the tow package. They did not give us that. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on one of the driver assistance features here, the lane keep assist. So that is optional on this car. I think the two higher trims should have it, but basically what that's going to do is it's going to help steer the car a little bit for you. So if I go ahead and let my hands off the steering wheel, I feel it. Yep, there we go. It's grabbing, it's driving. It does beep at you a little bit. That's one thing I don't like. I haven't had enough time to play around with the settings to see if I can turn off that beeping when I stray over the line. I'd really prefer a bzz, bzz, like a buzzing instead of the audible alert. Some people like the audible alert. So as you can see here, I'm doing a little bit of steering now. If I turn on the adaptive cruise, that might help it a little bit. There we go. Now you really feel the steering lock on. It's driving itself, people. It will beep at me to tell me to put my hands back on the wheel, but as you can see right now, hands off, slight bend coming up, car is catching it. I'm going to put my hands close in case it doesn't. Nope, it got it. So far, it hasn't beeped at me yet. See how long we can push it. Still going. Nope, I'm going to put my hands on the wheel just for the safety of me and my passenger. But as you could see there, I took my hands off the steering wheel for quite a long time and it did just fine. In terms of comfort, ride comfort, very, very good. Definitely one of the better vehicles in this segment. Noise is very low. There's some wind noise on the highway. That's to be expected on a vehicle of this size, but the engine is very, very quiet. And the thing that I notice is it's definitely not as sporty as the Mazda CX-9. That is still the king of these three-row crossovers in terms of driving experience, but it's not bad, especially if you stick it here in the sport mode. I really do enjoy how the way this car drives. I would say it's not quite on the level of the CX-9, but the CX-9 did get a little bit cumbersome on the highway with that heavy steering rack, so I think this is going to be your better choice if you're not hustling it around canyon roads like this all the time. And the body control is excellent. So I noticed this more as a passenger than I did as a driver. These are some incredibly windy roads we're driving, and I am not falling out of my seat. It's not a heavily bolstered seat, so that means that the car's suspension is doing all the work to keep me planted. Sometimes I drive cars like this, like the last time I drove a Highlander, when I took it through a corner, I felt like, whoa, I was about to roll out of it. Not so in the Telluride. So I'm very impressed with the way this car drives. It's not the sportiest in the segment, but it is far from the most lackadaisical. So I think Kia really nailed a very good point on how this drives. The driver assistance functions are very good. I love that you can get adaptive cruise control on every single trim level. Fuel economy is about average for the class. You're going to get 20 mpg in the city, 26 on the highway, 23 average with the front wheel drive. Shave a little bit off those numbers if you opt for the all-wheel drive. You should average about 21 mpg, 19 in the city, 24 on the highway. We are at altitude. it's going to struggle here. We've averaged about 17, which is not too bad. So now that I've gone over how the Telluride drives, let me pull over and talk about this interior, because Kia may have done a very good job on how it drives, but it pales in comparison with how well they nailed the interior of this cabin. Take a look inside the Telluride, where Kia has done a marvelous job designing this interior with what look to be very premium and upscale materials. Now, if we go ahead and touch some of these surfaces, these are some hard surfaces. There are some hard plastics around the cabin. There's no getting around that. This is a Kia after all, not a BMW or an Audi. But just looking at it, you really wouldn't be shocked if I told you, oh, we're sitting in a BMW or an Audi, and that is very high praise for Kia. So that all starts off with this nicely wrapped leather steering wheel, no paddles, but we have our general Kia controls here. We can change the screen here in the center screen between the gauges, so I can have that showing fuel economy, I can have it showing my drive route. I do have a head-up display that comes as part of an extra package on top of the SX trim, and I can adjust that. We do have some mood lighting as well. Tilt and telescoping steering wheel, it does go out pretty far. The only thing is there's no electric adjustment, but at this price range, not too big of a deal. The one thing that's really darn cool that Kia does on their cars now is, since we have the 360-degree camera, we have this camera in here. I have my right turn signal on, so it is showing me what the right turn signal camera sees. So I hope you guys can really see that. It looks really cool, and it's great when you're driving along so you can see in your blind spots. It works the same if I turn it on the left turn signal. I can also trigger those cameras to come up here on the main screen, or I can throw the car in reverse and I will get the full 360-degree camera, which can be adjusted. I can show only parts of it. There's just one side, there's the back end, there's the typical rear view camera. So what I did to engage that was just a normal PRND plus tap over for a manual mode. It is an 8-speed automatic transmission, sending power to the front wheels, or an all-wheel drive in this case. Since ours is pretty darn loaded, we have all the bells and whistles, the adaptive cruise control standard, but we also have blind spot monitors, we have the lane keep assist, all of that. We have this driver talk function that I'll show you later when I get in the back seat. This nice 10.2-inch display looks really good. You can have that over here to show your audio, or you can have it be a full map. It is both a touchscreen, but you also have these buttons here to help take you to your different functions, so you don't always have to rely on the touchscreen. We've got heated steering wheel. We have heated and ventilated seats up front, which you can control using these two little rockers near these big grab handles. We do have some drive modes to fiddle around with. As you saw when we drove it, you have the Smart, Comfort, Eco, Snow. Those are all housed down here on this little rotating knob. You do also have your park sensors, your view, the auto hold, and the start, stop, defeat. There's so much storage here, you wouldn't believe it. We've got 2 cup holders here. We've got an additional area right here, which is perfect for a cell phone to just kind of sit and rest. And then if I click this up, we have an additional storage here with a 12-volt outlet, a USB, an additional USB for charging, and a QI wireless charger if your phone is so enabled. Tons of storage space. We even have additional pockets down here on the passenger side, so you can put even more stuff there. There's tons of space in the doors as well. And then, of course, we have our center console here. So tons of room here. I love how everything feels. I love how everything is laid out. It definitely feels along the lines of what the Germans like Audi and BMW do. When you opt for this extra headliner as part of this special package on top of the SX trim, you get this really nice headliner, really jazzes up the interior of this car. if it wasn't already nice. I did get a chance to sit in a volume trim EX trim, and although it's not quite as nice as this, it still is pretty darn good. So now that I've gone through everything up front here, let's go ahead and step into the second row, because that's going to be really important when you're shopping for a 3-row crossover like this one. All right. Now that I've shown you the front seat and all of the technology up there, I'm going to show you the second and third rows of the Telluride, because they're very important when you're buying a 3-row crossover like this. And since we're on the press drive for the Telluride, I get the rare opportunity to ride in the back of one of these vehicles while it's moving. Usually I don't get the chance when I get a car to review at home. So how does the Telluride fare when you're sitting in the back seat? Well, I do have the seat moved up a ton for filming purposes, but even with the seat in its normal position, you have a ton of leg room here, because this seat slides forward and backwards. You have this nice lever right over here, if I can find the controls for it. You can recline as well. This is about as far as it goes back, which is pretty comfortable. You can take a nap. You do have these handy armrests as well, and we are driving the fully loaded trim, so we have both heated and ventilated seats in the second row. That's really rare at any price. I just got out of a BMW X7 that was well over $100,000, and it did not have ventilated seats in the second row. Nothing in the third row. Those are just seats, but you know, I'm gonna go ahead and rest while I'm ahead and give Kia props for putting ventilated seats in the second row of a crossover like this. That's absolutely great, and it's one of the only cars I can remember that has that. We also have these nice sunshades, so if your kids are driving along and you don't want them to pray fall to the sun, you can go ahead and put this up. I also have this big glass roof up here for the second row. It doesn't open, but it does have a very big gap for glass, so it does feel nice and airy in here, and your kids are not going to feel claustrophobic. So besides the actual space, there's tons of little storage areas here. I do have 2 cup holders here. I have my box of water that Kia gave me. I've never seen water come in a box before. I have my 12-volt outlet and a 115-volt outlet to charge my devices. And then on each of the seat backs on the first row, there's 2 USB ports, so each of the passengers here can charge their devices. We, of course, have the captain's chair configuration. You can also get a regular bench seat. So person in the middle, unfortunately, they won't have a USB to charge their device, but hey, well, you know, there's plenty of USBs in here. If you can't find a place to charge, you know, maybe you just have too many people. And you do have your own climate controls up here. They're built into the wonderful headliner. We have the premium package here. It gives you this really nice feeling headliner up here, and I can control the climate control up here on this little display. And while we're moving, I'm going to go ahead and hop in the third row. So as you can see, because we have the captain's chairs here, I have room to put my leg here. I'm a little tight, so my knees are touching. However, I did have this seat all the way in the back. So if you just push this button, this seat will kind of roll up, and you can easily give yourself a ton more leg room. And now I'm perfectly comfortable. Headroom depends on how tall you are. I'm only about 5'8" on a good day, so 5'9" on a good day, I should say. So, you know, if you're tall, you're not going to be super duper comfortable back here, but for a short ride, it would be absolutely great. And if you're short like me, you could definitely sit back here for an hour or 2 easily without getting uncomfortable. And getting in and out is really easy. There's just this one button on the chair, and that moves it all the way forward. So it's really easy to get in and out. Kia told us that the ingress and egress from the third row seat in this vehicle is better than what you would get from a Honda Pilot or Toyota Highlander or any of those vehicles. And I definitely agree. Getting in this third row is pretty darn easy. I don't know if I'd want to put 3 back here. If you do opt for the bench seat with the third row, You have the option to sit up to 8 people in this car. I think 6 would be perfect. 7 would be a little bit of a tight squeeze. It works with the captain's chairs because this middle person is going to be able to stick their legs out in between the 2 chairs. And even back here, I've got no storage over here, but I do have a nice storage bin over here. I've got 2 cup holders here, 2 cup holders here, so I can fit up to 4 drinks back here. You can push these buttons here. That helps fold it flat. So it's nice that even if you get the captain chairs, you can fold everything flat and still have a ton of storage. I have a USB port right here so I can charge my device even when I'm all the way back here. And Kia has introduced this new thing. If my driver would be so kind to turn on driver talk, would you please give me a call?
Happy to join you back there.
Oh,
Can you hear me loud and clear?
I can hear you loud and clear, and I don't even have to raise my voice. How nice.
I just want to say, keep down the noise.
I will. I won't tug on little Susie's hair. I promise. So basically what that feature does is you could hear from all the way up in the front row. It uses the car speaker system to project the driver's voice all the way back in here to the 3rd row. So if you have to tell Susie to stop pulling on little Todd's shirt, you can do it without raising your voice and screaming at them. Pretty darn cool. And the other thing Kia said about this layout is that behind the 3rd row, there actually is some decent storage space, more so than you'll actually get in the much larger Chevy Tahoe. So now we're going to pull over and I'm going to show you how the trunk and all of that sort of stuff works. All right, so since we've talked all about the inside, let's finish up with what's back here. Let's start off with the rear styling and then we'll delve into the trunk just a little bit. So just like the front, I think the rear gives this nice aggressive wide stance. You've got these reverse L taillights that really don't look like anything else on the road. That makes the Telluride very distinctive. So too does the fact that you have Telluride slapped on in big letters across the back, just like you'd find on a Range Rover. It's not the first time I've made that comparison, and I think this color looks really good. You've got this nice aluminum trim down at the bottom. The one issue that I have with it, and it's not too big of an issue, it's just a minor gripe, is this exhaust port is really nice. These are some really cool looking tips, and they're only on one side, so it looks kind of asymmetrical. I don't necessarily love that. So let's get to what's important, what's actually back here, because this is what you're really going to care about when you buy a 3-row crossover like this. So Kia has told us that the storage space back here is actually greater than what you'll get in a Chevy Tahoe, which, although that is categorized as a full-size SUV, this is technically still just on the big side of mid-size. So that's pretty impressive that you get all this storage back here. It's not humongous. We were traveling today with the 3rd row up most of the time, and we were able to fit our bags and stuff like that. You're not going to be able to fit 6 or 8 people plus luggage. There are very few SUVs out on the market that'll do that. The Chevy Suburban and the extended Escalades being some of those. You do have some added storage down here. So if you do take this out, you do have a little bit of deeper storage down here. That is helpful if you are trying to get the most out of the Telluride. And you can fold these seats pretty darn easily. They are manual. This one is a little annoying here. We have this cover here, but you can pull these tabs and it just basically throws back. There you go. That one's flat. Do the same thing on the other side. Just pull the tab. Headrest goes down all in one motion. Gives you a completely flat load floor. That's really good. We have the 7-seater version, not the 8-seater, but both of these buttons, you just push these right here and they will fold down electronically. They didn't go quite flat, meaning it's just where the front seats were positioned. Those will go completely flat as well, giving you a really nice load floor. And since we have a very nice SX trim, I can just push the button and let the electronic tailgate take care of the rest. Now, I've been mentioning that this is an XX trim. It is the highest trim Telluride. Let's go ahead and break those down before I give it a CarBuzz score. All right, so let's wrap up with some pricing on the 2020 Kia Telluride. This is a very nice, very well sorted SUV, but you're going to be even more impressed once I tell you how much all of this magnificence costs. So the base LX trim, that's going to start off at $31,690, gets you that 3.8 liter V6 engine, 291 horsepower with a 5,000-pound towing capacity. All Telluride trims are going to have leatherette as the base seats, no cloth seats available, and you're going to get a ton of stuff as standard, even on that base trim. You're going to have forward collision avoidance. You're going to have a smart key with push-button start, so you don't have to turn a key in any Tellurides. You're going to get a screen with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, and all Tellurides have adaptive cruise control. That's an incredibly impressive feature. You can add all-wheel drive to any of these trim levels for an additional $2,000. Stepping up to the S trim puts you up to $33,990. That's going to get you the ability to have this 7-passenger configuration with the captain's chairs. You're going to get the 20-inch alloys, 18s are the base wheel. You're going to get heated front seats, and you're going to get a power sunroof up front. The EX trim, this is the one I think most people are going to buy. It starts off at $37,990. That's going to get you the ventilated seats in the front. That's a pretty important option if you're like me and you live in Florida where it is hot all the time. You're also going to get the highway driving assistant. You're going to get real leather trim instead of leatherette. You're going to get a larger infotainment system with Uvo. That's a 10.25-inch touchscreen, and you're going to get that power tailgate that I showed you. That's the EX trim. What we're sitting in here is the SX trim. $41,490 is the base price. You're going to get these 7-passenger layout as standard. You're going to get the dual sunroofs. You're going to get the big piece of glass back here, which is really nice. You're going to get LED projectors, and you're going to get a surround view monitor. You're also going to get those black 20-inch wheels that I think are the best looking wheel available for the Telluride. And then on top of the SX trim, we also have a limited package, going to get us a couple things. We're going to get the Napa leather. It's actually going to roll in all-wheel drive. We're going to get this nice headliner. We're going to have a few other things besides. I think it's kind of worth it. As optioned, this car that you've seen today starts off at about $46,000, and that's about it. That's about all you can really do on a Telluride. You really can't get it that much more than that. I guess you can opt for the optional tow package. That's going to give you a self-leveling rear suspension. It's going to make it a little bit better for towing. You're also obviously going to get a hitch include. But other than that, there's not too much else you can do on this. So how does the Telluride compare against its rivals? Well, you've got the CX-9, which is a little bit sportier, and then you've got the Atlas, which is comparable in looks and size, but I think this drives better than most of the cars in this segment. The Subaru Ascent included, the aging Toyota Highlander. I think this is one of the best driving cars in the segment. Now, Hyundai will also sell a version of this car called the Palisade. That'll be similarly priced, and basically you're going to have to look at the Kia and look at the Hyundai Palisade and decide which one you think looks better. I'm going to give the edge to the Kia. I think it's just a slightly better looking SUV than the Palisade. And with that in mind, I really don't see any competition within this segment that I'd rather have. And that being said, the Kia Telluride, I have no choice but to give it a high score of must buy. I think this is currently one of the best mid-size 3-row crossovers you can get in any price range, and I would not hesitate to buy one. And if you like this review and you'd like to see more, be sure to subscribe to the CarBuzz YouTube channel and download our apps on iOS and Android to keep up with the latest and greatest in automotive news and to see more reviews just like this one. Hope you've enjoyed the video. See you next time.